Our guest today is a special one. We've had countless calls, emails, texts, and even a carrier pigeon sent to our headquarters requesting this story to be shared. It's special. He's a visionary, a philanthropist, someone I'm very close to and proud to have on the show. The guest, ladies and gentlemen, is the one and only Nathan Sotiropoulos, founder and director of Ethos 360 Recruitment. That's right, you've heard from the rest. Now buckle up and listen to the best. I hope you enjoy. Welcome to The Leap, a business journeys podcast where we dive deep into the journey of business owners to learn from their successes and failures. Our goal is a simple one: to help more businesses succeed. So this is a very exciting episode. We have had countless fans email, write into us via traditional methods, fan mail, to have this guest on the podcast. Tom, do you want to tell us a little bit about what's going on today?
Well, the guest today in very high demand is you. And that's why we're sitting on, people might notice you usually sit on this side. Today I'm sitting on this side because apparently I'm steering this ship. Thank you very much for the invitation to host the podcast today. It's an honor. I'm a big fan myself of the show. But first question for you is why am I hosting this show?
Well, Tom's trying to get a plug here, I believe. So
No, seriously.
he wants
you
a plug.
Give the people context.
He wants a plug.
Why
Tom
am
wants
I
a
doing
plug.
it?
So Tom is the founder of the Content Engine. So he's been working with us for
it's written on the side of the mic.
I need my own ones. Tom's been working with us. You've been working with us since the very start. So like helping us craft our story, the narrative, and our corporate videos and all the bits and pieces in between.
Yep.
We're obviously in your studio, so it made a lot of sense, and obviously it probably actually made the most sense because I think out of everyone you've sort of seen the journey and parts of it. So I thought it was pretty logical.
Oh.
Feels weird
Being on that side?
Yeah, but more just like I was actually, just as we started, I don't usually get nervous asking the questions, but I was like, oh, I'm a little bit nervous today.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go hard, so brace yourself.
Okay.
No.
Oh, God.
Have a little drink and see how we go.
A little one. All right, fire away. What do you want to know?
All right, so housekeeping first, right? Give me the Ethos 360 recruitment elevator pitch, right? What does it do?
Gee whiz.
Come on, man. You should have this drilled.
No, I always say, well, you know how people find it difficult or struggle to find very good people for their business. We help solve that problem. That's the elevator pitch, short and sweet.
Simple as
that.
that.
So in to explain that further, obviously we work within certain sectors, but we help businesses find staff.
Yep.
Right. And I think it's funny because it sounds super simple, but there are so many intricacies in terms of actually understanding the business properly and getting to know them well to then determine what the right fit is. And, we spend a lot of time going deep with business owners, but deep with candidates as well to really understand what it is they're looking for, because usually what they say and what they want are two different things.
Yeah, actually, as you know, our business does essentially the same thing. Like usually when people come to us, they have no idea what they actually want. So we'll obviously dive into that quite a lot more over the next 47 or so minutes.
It's our own podcast, mate. We can let it run for as long as we want to.
That's right. But then also give me the Nathan Soti 30-second career history. What's the journey been for you?
Yeah, so I went to university, did economics and finance, went into financial planning, traditional financial planning as like customer service, hybrid reception. It wasn't for me. Everyone was like a little bit old in that industry, but I really enjoyed that space. Went to iSelect, it was similar. It was working within one of the products, which was insurance, which was part of the financial planning product suite, I guess.
And what were you doing there? Sales?
Yeah, doing sales. So over the phone, people would make an inquiry into life insurance. You'd help them compare or take out a new policy. I then went across in more of a senior role to one of the life insurance companies called TAL, who had a comparison model as well, similar to iSelect. My old boss brought me across.
Is that Insuring This Australian Life? Is that them?
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was actually Tower Australia Limited, I think.
Yeah, right.
And then that sounded better. So
Their ads work. Yeah.
Yeah. So, spent a few years working there, and that was my exposure to, I guess, more senior-ish leadership, but exposure to actually dealing with recruitment agencies
Right.
as well.
But not as a recruiter.
Not as a recruiter, but I was
client of a
dealing with
recruiter.
them, being like, this is what we need
Yeah.
to find to help grow the business.
Yeah, right. And then from there?
And then from there, this is where
Then
I
here.
landed.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So no experience in recruitment. Just it was that thought of like, I can do this better. And went out on my own into recruitment. Knew a little bit about it, given I had exposure, and it's a simple concept, right? It's work with businesses, help them find staff, and I felt there was a gap from a sales perspective and insurance perspective as well, that I couldn't really find an agency that was heavy and had experience in finding those type of
Like
people.
recruiting into those sorts of businesses.
Yeah.
Or roles.
Yeah, exactly. It felt like everyone that you would speak to had no idea
Right.
about like what we were trying to do and the types of profiles to look for.
Right.
Yeah.
So have you always been entrepreneurial? Is business or, tinkering with businesses something that you've always done? Or did you ever perceive that maybe you would go through an entire career of being an employee of somebody else?
Yeah, every role that I've been in, I've always been thinking about how I could do this myself, or what opportunities there would be to go out on my own. And those bigger businesses, you can't really start a life insurance company. It's a bit tricky. But yeah, literally from as young as I can remember, and my parents always laugh about this, there was always a hustle.
A venture of
There was always a venture. So it started, probably early teens with trying to flip things on eBay, sourcing phone covers from China directly and trying to sell them on eBay.
Yeah.
There was, as I got older, high school, there was fake IDs as well. So I used to help those that were looking for a great evening experience. I helped facilitate that process.
That's the best sales pitch I've ever heard for a fake ID.
Little bits and pieces. There was people that were finishing high school that didn't need their calculators anymore, going to university. I would buy the calculators off them at a discounted rate and sell them to the next year levels.
The next generation.
Yeah, and then some university students that needed it on eBay and stuff like that, and Gumtree. So there were always little things that I just loved it. I just enjoyed the hustle and sort of making your own money and,
What was the first successful as in this is actually legit kind of thing?
None of those.
None?
None. Not even close. The first one was, we're going back close to 9 years ago, was with Club Sigma, the Greek night that we started.
Yeah.
So with two other partners, Ilias and George, who were, George is pretty popular and had run heaps of regular nights. Ilias was a friend of mine that had done some Greek nights himself on a smaller scale, and we sort of all came together and created what is now, I think, Australia's largest Greek night.
And still going.
Still going.
And it's every public holiday eve or something, isn't it?
Every public holiday eve, correct. So some public holidays, so Christmas night, Easter, they're our big ones, and it's a strong brand. It's very well known. So
what made it successful?
Yeah, interesting. I think culturally, Greeks support each other. Greeks are really deep ingrained in their culture, so enjoy the music and stuff like that. So I think that helps. What helped it succeed over other Greek nights, I think, was partly the sort of deep roots and connections in venues and stuff that some of the other partners had. And I'd probably say the lack of innovation in some respects has been the key to our success. So we
Going old school.
yeah, like we will still do a lot of tickets through like outlets or through promoters, and because what happens these days is like Eventbrite or whatever,
Eventbrite,
whatever it is, that
try booking.
correct, that and no one's incentivized to sell the tickets for you, right? But if you've got, 20, 30 promoters that are incentivized per ticket to sell the tickets for you and incentivized through drink cards and an experience on the night, they're motivated, and if you get someone that's younger and they sell quite a few tickets, it can be lucrative for them. So I think that's been the key to the success there. So there are definitely some.
So it's the commish.
Commish, right? And that's the thing. But it's also like you're part of something. There's like we've got a little community now. Like we've got great buy-in from the team that we've got, and that's what definitely keeps me still involved. Like there's some really good friendships that have come out of it with the DJs. It's still got virtually the same crew from day dot. So there were, hindsight. Like I look back now, and I'm like, actually, there's a lot of lessons and things that I can take away from it that I probably didn't, fully understand.
So was there a specific moment, when maybe you were at iSelect or something like that, where you decided, I'm going to do this, like I'm going to take the leap? Can you think of what the process was that got you the confidence and the, chutzpah to go, you know what, I'm going to go out and do this myself?
I don't. There wasn't a moment that it was like, I've got this great plan, this great idea. I think for me there were things going on at the time that I think sort of pushed me to go out on my own. Do you know what I mean? So it wasn't like I've got this great idea, I'm going to act on it now. It's all prepared, it's all ready to go. There was really nothing to go to. It was more so at the time I just wasn't feeling fulfilled. Like I wasn't feeling, like really valued at the time, and I just wasn't really, I wasn't loving it. I wasn't loving it, and looking back now, it was obvious. Like I was really overweight. I was having, migraines 2-3 times a week. Like it was a lot of pressure, a lot of stress. Like I definitely found that more stressful than working for myself.
Really?
Which is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Right. So it wasn't like I had this great idea, but it was like, I think I'm done here anyway. Like let's explore this.
And why recruitment? Like having never done recruiting before, what on earth made you go, you know what, I'm going to firstly go out and start my own business. Secondly, going to do something that I've literally never done before. You're insane.
Yeah. I think if I knew how hard it was, I would never have done it.
Really?
Yeah. Because I think the barrier to entry is evidently so low, anybody can do it, right? And it makes it then difficult to actually scale a team and all that sort of stuff as well.
Yeah.
There was a few things I was like, I think I would be good at it because you're having conversations with people. That's what I enjoy. As I said, there was a little bit of what I thought was a gap in the market to really hone in on, salespeople and try out that insurance space. And the other part was I used to drive in every morning with Michael Bottle-Peter.
Who's been on the podcast.
Yeah. And like I was, I'm watching him build and we're going in the same time, coming home the same time, into work. And
so by carpooling, you mean he was giving you a lift?
Yeah, he's giving me a lift. Yeah, I never drove in.
You never drove. That's not carpooling, that's sponging.
Yeah, okay. Whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I think he also gave me the confidence because he's like, I deal with recruiters, like I've dealt with them and they're partners of ours. And he gave me the confidence to be like, as well, he's like, there's probably referral opportunities there that I could be able to give to you. But he probably gave me the confidence to be like, I reckon you'd be able to do it. So that was it.
And when was that? When did you actually go, you know what, I'm doing it?
I think ABN search will tell you late 2017.
Yeah.
And then early 2018 was when I actually resigned.
Right.
Yeah. But it was interesting. I think because I fluffed around the first 6 months, like 2018, that there was not much action. Like I reckon I took 6 months to get a website up and running. Yeah, that probably took 6 months.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? To put like a document together about what we do.
So it's not like you were like burning with, passion and enthusiasm to get this thing off the ground. It was like, I reckon I can do this and I'm going to take my time kind of having a crack.
Yeah, it was slow, but I probably also think, I lived at home still, like there wasn't a crazy rush. But then, there was that, it wasn't like a moment per se, but I was like, okay, I actually need to, because I think sometimes it was I have no idea what I was doing, probably element of fear as well of like, where do you start? I have no credibility that I probably in hindsight pushed out actually really starting.
Yeah.
But then just made a conscious decision to actually, take it seriously. So I'd go down every single morning, I'd get dressed, put a shirt on, go downstairs and actually lock in because I was just having coffees and all that stuff during the day. But I started to treat it like a job, and that's when started to get some traction.
So looking back on those early days, whether it's like maybe it's after that first initial 6 month period, maybe it's the next 6 months, what do you look back now and go, geez, I wish I'd known to do that differently?
Where do you want me to start?
Yeah. Now 7 years down the track, you can obviously hindsight's 2020, right? But you can look back and go, these were the impediments to my success in those first 6 or 12 months. What do you wish you had known to do differently?
So this was just different for me because I didn't know what I was doing. So I think there was the hesitation to do stuff because I didn't really know what was going on.
Do you mean from a business perspective?
Perspective or just the role itself?
Right.
Like I understood as a concept of you find people and put them in, but I'd never, didn't know about terms of business, didn't know about sort of the, processes of submitting people and, there are processes involved in doing these things.
Yeah.
And, there are panels and all of these sort of things with the bigger companies. So I think the thing that I would have done, I think year 2, I went and engaged a mentor coach during COVID. Should have done that straight away. To say, set me up with the processes, systems, software, like I was working off like OneNote or something like that. Didn't really have a Seek account set up. I was just working through contacts, working through LinkedIn, and that was it.
Because the thing that like my experience was, and it sounds like having listened to a lot of the episodes that you've recorded with people, is that when you go out and you do this business thing, like unless you have experience of having done it before, you kind of don't know what you don't know, right? So like that's a really good example of going, oh shit, maybe I should ask someone what the fuck I should be doing here.
Yeah, and I think you're conscious of how much money things cost.
Yeah.
Rather than understanding that something is an investment, I think I've understood now cost versus price, right? Like the cost of something up front, this is going to cost me, $1,000 to do, but the price of, say, not doing it, what's the impact of that?
That's really good advice.
Thank you.
But that then goes to like, if you're going to go and do that, right, take the leap, and like you've presumably you would have had a war chest sort of saved up and some cash, right? You must have done that before you took your leap, right?
Not huge.
No,
not huge.
You didn't have like 6 months worth of mortgage payments saved up?
Well, this is the thing. I lived at home,
Yeah,
right? So I didn't have a crazy.
You didn't have 6 months
savings.
worth of FOP payments, saved?
No, it wasn't crazy. I reckon I maybe had I wasn't a good saver either. Maybe had like 40, 50 grand.
That's not too bad. It's not nothing.
No, not nothing, but you know what I mean? After sort of 6 months of, diddling around, like it runs out pretty quickly, right? If you're still going out and all that sort of stuff. So, there was a bit of a runway, but I think at the end of the day, it was the fact that I really lived, like if I cut down, there really wasn't many expenses. Like living at home, it's definitely going to be the best time to give something a crack.
Yeah, right. And when did you realize that you had a viable business? Like that this could not only, well, I guess it could pay for your life and then maybe actually be more than that as well?
I think pretty much once clients started saying yes.
And how long did that take? Did they start saying yes in those first 6 months?
Yeah, I think once I actually, let's disregard the first 6 months because I don't think I did anything.
Yeah,
but
right.
yeah, like my first point of call was like, I'll reach out to people that I've worked with previously. Like one of them was iSelect, and they were keen to use us early on, which was awesome. And so I think that was the first thing. I think, when you talk about some of the apprehensions come from lack of credibility, right? And you can, I think there's a saying about you can sit there and shout affirmations in the mirror, right? But, like it's about just generating proof. And I think once we had that proof of concept that we've actually been able to help people, and I now had confidence that I understood the end-to-end process, that was it. And it was a good name to be able to leverage off, and it just sort of started from there. I was like, okay, who else plays in these spaces? Who else can we, whose door could we knock on? But I think the mistake early on there was probably that, like, I was just a little bit too relaxed and comfortable that I had someone rather than, aggressively chasing new business.
Yeah. And you mentioned your mentor / coach. Like, what role did that person play for you over, how long did you have them sort of engaged, and what role did they play?
Yeah, Matt Cousins is his name. He's the bee's knees in the industry. So he's run
recruitment.
In recruitment, yeah. He's run heaps of successful businesses. He's helping sort of founders and people go out on their own at the moment. He was everything because he gave us like the structures, right? So like, how do you get to a number, right? So let's say you want to grow to a certain rate. What does that look like in actual activity metrics? So he gave me sort of that playbook to be like, cool, this is the activity you need to do to basically get to that result. So that was good to understand. I needed that because that's my background. It's like, you make this many calls, you will get to your target. So I think he helped me understand that. And he probably worked with me for like 1.5 years, 2 years. And, he's still only a phone call away, is that type of relationship.
Yeah. And did you ever consider getting a coach or mentor type person that was from outside of your industry? Or is there anyone else that kind of plays that role for you?
Yeah, I definitely still do.
Yeah.
So we use a guy called Andrew Rook at the moment. I've used another old sort of colleague, friend that used to do some consulting work, James Eagle, before, that's done work with us and the team. Just depends on like what I'm needing. I think at the time, is it more mindset? Is it more marketing, sales structures? Is it, and for Matt at that time, it was fundamentals. And I remember I called him, and he usually works with sort of more established companies, and this was like year 2. And he's like, okay, tell me a little bit about yourself. And I'm like, okay, so I'm in recruitment, and been going 2 years, and I think at that point, year 2, it was maybe like 250K, which I think is like probably a good year 1 or year 2 for a recruitment consultant that's like employed.
Yeah.
And yeah, when he found out that I hadn't done it before and had actually done that, he was like, okay, I think we can work with
something
this.
to work with here.
Yeah. So I think, like the part that was eye-opening at that point was a lot will still fail after being employed for 5-10 years in recruitment and fail going out on their own. So that was that moment that I was like, okay, there must be something that I'm doing that's working for me to be able to do this when others can't, when they've got the experience already.
Yeah. And what about like business networks and networking groups and that kind of, I don't know, formal ways of meeting other people who are maybe going through similar things or have gone through and are much further on, or, will go through? Like, how important was it, or is it, for you to kind of be involved in those sorts of groups?
I think Cub's going to need to give me a little clip of the ticket because I keep on giving him shout outs. I think again, it comes back to the investment that you make, right? Because I remember like a lot of these memberships might be $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 a year, and even an investment from a time perspective as well. We say like BNI.
Yeah.
It's helped enormously. Like I think the last 3 years I've focused on surrounding myself with those type of people. To learn from them, but also there's obviously opportunity there as well for me. So I think that is really important. But I think it comes down to what we were talking about earlier in seeing, things as an investment and understanding price versus cost as well.
So what's the business trajectory been over, I guess it's now 7 years. We've talked about the first maybe like 1 to 2 years, but you've kind of, there was COVID obviously, and you've kind of expanded and contracted over time. Talk me through that journey.
Yeah. So COVID, I think 2018 was sort of, so 2019 was like probably the first full year. Then COVID, came back significantly. So I think it was like, I don't want to quote the wrong numbers, but basically COVID wiped everything for us.
Yeah.
So I was very fortunate that, again, didn't have a heap of commitments, and Sylvia was working full time. So she just basically covered things. I think we just scraped in, like we might have made like 80 grand or something like that in a full year of COVID.
Yeah, right.
Which didn't cover the expenses, didn't cover my wage. And then like there was some government things that got us over the line.
Yeah.
And then, so basically after that, it was a good time. So that wiped out 2 years. And then it was very, very good time sort of come the end of 2021, rolling into 2022 to be in recruitment, because there was just not enough people in the country to fill all of the vacancies. So, sucked in, you had to use recruitment. So that was the opportunity for us then.
Yeah.
And I think at that point, there was a fair bit of inbound traffic. We're getting quite a few calls, and a lot of the persistence in COVID paid off. Do you know what I mean? Because businesses were like, all right, well, we're ready to hire now. And then quickly needed some bums on seats to help cover the amount of inductions and roles that we needed filled.
Yeah.
So I think that was probably the big part.
So you expanded to 4? 5?
Yeah. Went up to 4 others, plus myself in that time there. And again, a lot of lessons, right? So I think it was people to fill the roles. And, when you do the math, well, let's say I'm doing $500,000 times 5 people, it's not 2.5.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
So for me, it was just more, we weren't efficient, and there were the structures in place to help people succeed. A lot of it was on me, that I didn't give them the right support and structures to be successful.
Yeah, right. And that's obviously one significant learning. What did you learn about, I guess, yourself and your role as a leader through that process as well?
I'm a much better manager when it's not for my own business.
Ah, right. Why?
Because there was always just cared so much for their success.
Yeah, that doesn't sound wanky at all.
Do you reckon that sounded wanky? No, it's a legit thing. I mean, you know the boys, like you call Joe, ask him, do you know what I mean? They become like family, right? Like when it was like for business, and again, it comes down to the structures, right? Because I didn't have like a clear pathway for success in terms of, the numbers and the minimum expectations. It was just sort of fluffy. I'm like, okay, well, next quarter we've got to make that happen, this number, but there probably wasn't like the firm expectations in a call center. It's like, if you do not hit this number, you then go on to form a performance improvement plan, So I think, different type of manager when I was managing there versus managing here. I think that was something that I definitely learned about my management style.
But those things obviously you've had to do, or in some way at least implement. Like, how have you kind of gone about doing that? And I guess reconciling that, the difficulty of that, given your investment in the people, but also the need to make sure that the numbers stack up for the business.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was really simple. I was coming out to that point where certain things were getting frustrating for me. So I think I went away on a holiday, set some expectations, came back, they weren't achieved. And I think sometimes you need that time to just step away from the business to realize what's important, and when you're too close to something that you really can't see what's going on. Yeah. I think having that stepping away and going on a bit of a holiday and coming back, I was like, okay, I need to, make some movement.
Yeah. And did it work? Like, how do you feel about that now?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was obviously tough at the time, but yeah, 100%. Something that in certain situations should have happened sooner, right? But yeah, again, a lot of lessons that I take on board personally because like now I've stepped away and I'm like, okay, I think sometimes when you're forced to have less people, you're forced to become more efficient, and you're forced to also work out what my ideal client is and who should I be working with as well. So I think you start to value, all right, what's my time more as well.
Yeah. And where are you at now?
Yeah. So now we're in a really good position. So we've got Angelique, full-timer in Sydney, working remote. And she's basically come in, her first full quarter. So she's coming up to like 5-6 months now. And she will have pretty much the best quarter that any employee of ours has had.
Good result.
Yeah, partly because of her, mostly because of her, but a big part because of the structures and support. You know what I mean, that we've got in place now.
Yeah.
And we've gone heavy on offshore staffing as well. So we've got 2 full-timers offshore as well. So they act as in a marketing capacity and also in terms of like shortlisting and helping us, basically telling us who to call and creating short lists of people to call for us.
Yeah.
And we've got one person that's still subcontracting to us. So it's not really a staff member per se.
Yep.
Yeah.
That must then give you confidence that, if and when you do find yourself, with heaps of work on again, that you can expand, I guess, in a more sustainable way. Like, is that right?
Yeah, for sure. Like we're in a position now where all of the marketing efforts have started to pay off. So a lot of the stuff that you would have heard from Nick around EDMs and email marketing and things like that have worked. We've gone pretty heavy on that this year. So now my next few years is hopefully in 2025 we're looking at bringing on board 2 people, and hopefully another 2 people after that as well, because there's actually now a mechanism and process around how we actually acquire new clients, which is nice. There's now, I've got confidence that I'm like, we now know, there's a systematic thing rather than, Nathan knows John's cousin, who works in HR and he's going to be able to get us in the door. There's actually a systematic approach and runs on the board to, verify why people should use us.
Yeah, and this is going to sound like a dumb question, but what is the biggest challenge? Is it bringing in that work, or is it finding the candidates to fill it? Like, what keeps you awake at night? Yeah,
it's twofold because it's people. It's people on both sides. You're dealing with people from within companies and businesses, and you're dealing with people as, I guess, the product, I guess.
Yeah, product, right? The human resource.
Yeah, the human resource.
And it's really like desensitizing or, dehumanizing when you put it like that, isn't it?
So I think the biggest challenge is that there's a lot of red tape, and it's not necessarily like who would be the best recruitment agency for that company. The big companies have panels, so people that they specifically select.
Panels of recruiters.
To do certain roles within their business. And it's like a tender process. It comes up every few years, and chances are it probably won't be reviewed. So you can't just rock up and be like, hey, I know John, Michael, I know your state manager. It's very difficult to get in. So I think that's been the hardest part for us, has been, being able to get in with the bigger organizations because of that. But I think on the flip side as well, I think we've learnt recently as well that they're maybe not who we're best suited for anyway. So
how'd you come to that realization? And who are you best suited for?
I think for us, right, so with recruitment, it's really interesting. So when you get onto a panel, you can be, traditionally this is how it plays out, they've got an internal recruitment team, okay? And most of the time, they're good, right? So after they have a go at trying to find someone, it then comes down the chain to the recruitment, like to their recruitment partners. All right. Now they may say we are going to go out to 5 recruitment agencies to see who can fill this one role.
So then you're competing.
For
the same paycheck.
And then even if, let's say everyone's on par, you've got a 20% chance of actually getting that role. Now, to me, that doesn't sound very sensible.
Yeah, I was going to say, how does that stack up?
It doesn't, right? But that's how the game's played a lot of the time.
Wow.
So for me, I much prefer, getting in with, your small to medium businesses that, maybe don't have their own internal team that actually want, to partner with someone properly. Someone come in, understand their business, understand what they really need, help them out with, the right structures for someone to be successful, and then go out and, when you know their business so well, it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
How have you, like you just talked about it before, about the implementation of certain automations and that sort of stuff over the last little while. How have you kind of leveraged automation and I guess system efficiency or process efficiency to grow the business?
Yeah, I think I'm really focusing on moving faster on things and also trialing and testing things a lot more. So I think for the first 5 years, it was just the same thing over and over again, right? And you look back and you're like, well, that's dumb. Right? It is. So I think now, like I'm really trying to move towards working on the business, having, at least a full dedicated day off to actually look at process improvements and things like that. So in terms of like what we've actually done, there's been, those EDMs that have gone out. We're working on further automations there, which are going out live in January, where people don't just get an email, there's a text message, voicemail, and a Loom video message that gets sent out to prospective clients. And then new CRMs and automations on the candidate side of things. So we moved over to a new CRM, which back at the time, 2 years ago, wasn't known at all in the market. And again, theirs is all very automated. So it can write, messages through AI based on the job description you've got loaded in the CRM. And you can basically helps find people's information through different databases, but it can actually automate SMS outreach and email outreach at the click of a button at scale. So you can, if you need to move on a role quickly, you can basically drag, 200 people that meet that description and gently send them an email or a text message saying, hey, you may be interested in this.
Do those automations and those systems only apply candidate side, or do they somehow apply client side as well?
Well, they're like two different things. So
different sets, but like you're running similar things on the client side as well?
Yeah, correct.
And how does that work?
So
without giving away state secrets?
No. It's an open book here. That's what it's all about. So we're talking new business now?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, however you're using it, right? How are you using the gear?
The gear?
Yeah, the technology.
What type of gear are we talking about?
I don't know. What type of gear are we talking about? Did this just take a turn?
I don't know what's going on here. All I know is it's hot in this room. Stop touching me. So more so, yeah, I'll talk probably new business. That's probably most relevant. But basically, so traditionally what we used to do, and this is I think how most business recruitment companies operate, is that we would see a job advertisement. Like this is how you get new business basically in recruitment. You see a job advertisement. So you
see a Seek ad or something.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, I've got this great person for that.
Yeah.
And then you'd try and find that person's contact details that's got the Seek ad up and email them and try and give them a phone call to tell them that you've got someone that could be a good fit for the job. That was traditionally how we operated. But now we basically collate those details within our areas that we service at scale through an independent agency, and every basically 7 days they will send out email campaigns with like 4 email sequences introducing, saying, we saw you had a job ad up, how are you going with the advertisement, this is who we are, we may potentially have some people, did you want to have a chat? And
that's all automated?
That's all automated.
Right.
Yeah.
And so how much impact has that had on your business? Like, you don't have to spend that time manually anymore. Like, how many times has that sped things up by? Is it 5 times faster, 10 times faster? Like, what sort of volume are you getting through?
I haven't measured it in terms of time, but I mean, yeah, like a good 2 or 3 hours a day would probably be saved there emailing companies.
Yeah.
But I mean, from an ROI perspective, I think we spent like maybe 35, 40K on that, and it probably returned about 150K.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
Like that
in the last year. So, because the thing is with recruitment, like if you get them if you get a client at the right time, they're growing and, you know, they're comfortable to just potentially partner with you, you know, they could be growing and they could be part of a bigger organization as well. And it can lead on to other things. So the value of a client can be a lot.
Yeah. Right. And how do you make them sticky?
How do you make them sticky?
Yeah. Like, why do they hang around?
I think it's almost as simple as delivering.
Just not being shit.
Yeah, just not being shit, right? Because at the end of the day, right, I mean, look, there's different reasons and there's different things that a company is looking for in a recruitment partner.
Yeah.
Right? It could be speed. It could be them understanding, you know, us understanding the business. But most of the time, we want good people that stick around. Because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. Making sure you put good people in that stay so they actually get a return on their investment.
How much of that stickiness is Nathan versus Ethos 360 recruitment?
Luckily, I would have answered Nathan back in the day, but I think I've found a great potential business partner in Angelique coming on board who really shares our values.
Does she know that? The potential business partner?
For
bit?
sure.
Okay.
For sure. I mean, like, yeah.
Like, we're breaking news here.
No, like, just, you know, it's rare that you find someone that's like really well aligned to, you know, to our mission and trying to change how recruiters are perceived. So, she's doing an excellent job in that as well.
Yeah.
It's just it's not hard, but it's just being honest and transparent about, you know, with candidates and clients.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah. So you just touched on this. It's a great segue into my next question, which is maybe like 4 years or so ago, you kind of decided that you wanted to build a brand, if you like, around your business and I guess maybe get to know your business a little bit better. How much of that was kind of getting to know yourself and like solidifying the business's story around what it kind of actually does on a day-to-day basis?
Ask the question again.
So am I right in saying about 4 years ago, you decided to kind of invest in the brand, like rebrand it, come up with something of a brand story. And I guess as part of that, I know this because I'm the one that asked you the questions, but it was like about trying to get to know yourself and your business and what it was at the time, maybe a little bit more coherently or a little bit better than it had been previously. Why did you do that? Yeah,
I thought I needed a new logo.
Yeah.
Right, because grey and red didn't really work for assets on different documents. But it was a really important exercise that we ended up going through. So for context, we went through a brand with you and Nick as well. From Next & Co.
Yeah.
And basically what it was, you know, you guys asking a lot of questions like, well, why are you different? Like, why do you exist? What's your why? And like teasing that out of me and helping, the brand tell that story as well. And what it basically did was it allowed us now to be able to communicate, you know, why we're different, what we stand for, through pretty much all of our interactions. So I got so much more out of it than just, a nice looking website. It's then led into, our curating our marketing videos, showing how we go the extra mile and that we do things different. And I think it extends to the reality is it's an extension of me as well, that I'm authentic, I'm real, honest and transparent. I think that, you guys did a great job of sort of getting that.
Extracting that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And it's interesting now as well. It's like, there's the rise of the sort of personal brand as well. And I'm glad we did that exercise because it all aligns, right? I think the thing that you taught me was don't try and be someone that you're not. I think when we originally, we tried to fake the credibility, being like, we are big, like the website was like really generic. And now it's like, that's not us. This is who's in our team. Have a look at the photos. This is a funny video about us taking the piss. And yeah, this is us. Like, don't want to, don't want to hide around or trying to, like if you don't want to work with us, if we're not big enough for you, then that's okay. Yeah.
And how has that kind of knowing that story of yourself, I guess, how has that helped you to differentiate yourself from others? How has it helped you communicate to clients or prospective clients about why they should work with you?
It's probably done us a disservice, to be honest. No, I think, I think it's helped us, like, it's a tough one to answer. Like, how has it helped us? I think it's just helped with the authenticity piece more than anything, right? I think it's helped us, be ourselves and through that attract the right businesses and connections. I think maybe that's what I'd say there.
And how has it also helped you with like cultural alignment internally as well? Like you've obviously gone through a few hires now and that kind of stuff. You feel it sounds like you're at a pretty good spot now from that perspective.
I hope so, because this shit's tiring, man.
How has it helped that kind of internal culture as well?
Yeah, I think now, like, we talk to it all the time. Do you know what I mean? Like,
you live it.
Yeah, we live it. It's like, what did you do? Like, how did you, like, what's our, just trying to think back to our weekly catch up note, but it's like, where did you go the extra mile with someone? What did you do differently?
And you talk about that every week when you catch up.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. That's awesome. Have you always got something to say?
Most of the time, yeah. Because I think like it's as simple as something, it's as simple as sometimes just, helping people, you know what I mean? Like even if we can't help them with a role, it's like, send over your CV, we'll have a quick look at it, like trying our best to go the extra mile and help people. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And why'd you start a podcast?
I was sitting in Adrian Ranieri's background. John Catchia was over, and we're just talking about like how good it is to be able to talk to other business owners, and other people would have got benefit out of the conversation we're having. And then someone's like, "Oh, we should have a podcast." And John's like, "I've already got one." So, and then Adrian's like, "All right, you and I will do one." So we actually had like a serious discussion about it that night, being like, "Should we do it together?" And John's like, "Man, I don't have time," and I think, like, you can't do it with 3 people. That's weird.
Yeah.
Adrian and I sort of wanted to do one together, but then he wanted to be like real casual, eat pizza while you're talking shit with the boys type of thing.
You mean like not drinking beer while you're...
See, I thought this worked. But that was sort of what started it. I think I've been pretty serious about just taking action on stuff, in this year. And just doing stuff. So I had the idea and I'm like, why can't I do that? There was definitely like imposter syndrome big time, like, I might do a podcast, but just started it, right?
Yeah.
And just sort of like with everything, I think I come to you and other people and I'm like, hey, I'm thinking like of sharing, journeys. I like business, and I think there's never been a resource. Like I couldn't find one when I was first starting out for people to listen to and draw inspiration from. And then, people like yourself help me put it together, what I'm thinking in my head, put that out into things that people can read and understand. And here we are.
Yeah. So you're now, this is going to be episode 12, I think, I assume. Have you got any favourites along the way?
You can't. How can I answer that?
It's like choosing between your children.
Exactly. Exactly. I think there was definitely things in almost every story that I've learned from, or that I enjoyed having the conversation with.
Yeah, I mean, I won't lie. I haven't listened to all of them. Can
I tell you that pisses me off, because you're meant to be providing me feedback and and having a personalized service. So if any other big hotshot podcast hosting groups out there listening to this, I'm fucking free agent.
That's it. I'm out of here. No,
there's been some cool ones, definitely, that are like, that I've learnt maybe special lessons from.
Yeah. So I was listening to, I really enjoyed, you've mentioned Adrian Ranieri already in the chat, but like I had to listen to his episode and I thought that, he was really open and quite honest and raw about the realities of going out and kind of starting your own thing and how that impacts you as a person and that sort of stuff. I mean, if you were to go back or even just now talk to someone about who's considering taking the leap and, is asking questions, what would you tell them about the realities of going out on your own and starting your own business?
Yeah, the realities of it. It's not easy, but it's doable, obviously. You don't have to be a genius to find success. A lot of it will come with time, and you really need to be persistent. I think most of it's a mental game. Do you know what I mean? Staying positive throughout a lot of rejection. You're not going to get traction straight out the gates, right? So I think, it's a timing thing. But I mean, if I was to say, okay, this is what I've learned, things to be conscious of is that someone probably already has the answers.
Someone's already done what you're doing.
They've done what you're going to do. Yeah. Like chances are you're not reinventing the wheel or starting something that hasn't been done before. So go and seek advice. You're going to save yourself a lot of time, heartache by doing that.
Yeah.
And, if you're going to fail fast.
What does that actually mean?
So I think if you're going to make a mistake or something's not going to work out, like now if we are like going to see if a, new industry is viable, we don't hire a person in there and wait 6 to 12 months to see if it's going to work. We'll send out some EDMs, right? To be like, cool, these people are currently hiring. Do they need assistance? There was a lot of yeses. Okay. Well, let's see what the candidate side looks like. Let's run a campaign on that side of things, see how many people respond. No one responds. Okay, right. So we've got a market here that tells us that there's a lot of jobs that need to be filled, but it's not enough people. You know what I mean? So it's like tests like that. It's like, work out pretty quickly if there's a market there or if you can make it happen rather than dawdling for years.
Yeah. And I mean, you've got to have a thick skin. You've got to be pretty tough to kind of do this. Like what causes you anxiety or stress about your business? Like what keeps you awake at night?
There's always the element of like, will this continue?
Oh, is this too good to be true? Is that what you mean?
No, not is this too good to be true. I can think of things that would be too good to be true this ain't it. But
what do you mean then?
No, so I mean like there's always that insecurity or that fear that, clients will stop using you, new business will dry up, especially once you start to just like, live off a normal wage, draw a wage, start to do things outside of work that require stable wage or income.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like once you start to buy a house, have children, have a wife off work, then it's like, there's that fear, sometimes that fleeting thought that crosses my mind that, will this continue? So I still get that.
Is it imposter syndrome or is it just doubt?
I think everyone, like if most people will admit that they still have a little bit of that. I think now that we have, I will say some mechanisms and a bit of a process around it, like I feel more comfort that it's okay. I don't know. It might be normal. It might not, but I mean, it still gets me up in the morning and gets me, still prospecting for new business. So it's not the worst thing.
Yeah. During your episode with Chloe Walker, you guys talked about a bad decision being better than no decision at all. Have you ever lived that? Like when is that? Have you got an example of when you just had to act?
This is hard. Like this is literally just putting people on the spot. I can't believe I do this to people all the time. example of a bad.
Like it's like the question is about like, when did you find yourself in a situation where you had to act? Like, I've got to do something now, but I'm not sure that the decision I'm about to make is necessarily all that good, but I've got to do something. Has been something you've confronted at any point?
Yeah, I mean, there was like an example with a very, very short tenured staff member who we pretty excited for, been in contact with for quite a while, came into the business and was with us for 2 days. And then again, it's small networks, small worlds, right? Found out that he'd worked for somebody else that I was mutuals with, and there'd been some practices that didn't align with our values. And we had to have that difficult conversation to say, it's just not the place, not for us, it's not for you. And I think that's something that I probably wouldn't have done because I really understand who we are and what we stand for. And I also think that, I think that I probably would have pushed out making that decision because I also saw that there was immensely capable of doing well, but I'd rather be true to myself.
I think one of my big takeaways.
I don't know if that answered the question though.
Yeah, not bad. You try again if you want. I think one of my big takeaways from the whole thing is that you have obviously very consciously surrounded yourself with good people. You know, like, is that a conscious thing that you've done, or has it just kind of happened organically?
No, not conscious at all. I think you gravitate towards, I'm guessing, I don't know, science or something, but around people that are like-minded, right? And I think probably, like-minded people in business, and I enjoy having those conversations. So I think I've just naturally gravitated towards business owners and didn't really grow up with a big group of them as childhood friends. So I think when a lot of clients are very good friends of mine, so, and I think it's really cool now that we've, through this podcast, like on last Friday, we had almost like a little community event that the Leap dinner, that's sort of come out of this. And it was, a few people said to me on the night, they're like, oh man, I'd never be able to pull off something like this. I'm like, what do you mean? And it's like, Sam said it to me. It's like, you've managed to get like all these good people in a room together. I'm like, that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I think it was one of those smell the roses moment, but not intentional, but I think I just enjoy it. And obviously it's something that I guess comes naturally.
Yeah. You, in one of the episodes, you talked about the importance of having people that are genuinely happy for you. Who's happy for Nathan?
Oh, my number one fan, my wife, for sure.
Yeah.
My wife and my kids, right? I think that's the most important thing. Like, kids think I'm a famous superhero, and I think I think at the end of the day, that's the most important thing, right? Like, I think it's like, people talk about legacy and how you want to be remembered. It's like, for me, it's good dad, and the best husband. Best of both, I guess. But
is that actually the mission and purpose?
I think now, as I've gotten older, I think that for me, there's nothing more important.
Yeah.
Because
we can fuck up our businesses, but you only get one shot at raising your kids, don't you?
Exactly. And like, don't get me wrong, I love it, and I want to, innovate and make this successful, and I've got my goals and aspirations with the business for sure. But we take it really seriously at times, you know what I mean? And like, I think sometimes people need to step back, and you're here for so long, like you got to sort of get a sense of enjoyment out of what you do and have fun with it, and not take it too seriously at times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what does the future look like? It's, you want to be operationally independent at some point in the near future, I assume,
Yeah.
As in Nathan off the tools?
That's the plan. So when I say off the tools, I just mean like, not doing the physical placements, and having the business as reliant on me. So, the plan will hopefully be, in 3 years' time, worst case, we've got enough consultants operating at a higher level. So if we get to 7, that should be the point where I can replace my salary and not have to be on the tools doing placements, just focusing more so on relationships, partnerships, maintaining, those the current client relationships and new business. But for me, the goal is really simple. Like I want to be able to go away for 8 weeks every single year to Greece. And
it's the dream.
Yeah, and it still continues to tick over, and I don't have to worry. That's it. Like I don't, like I want to be really the most trusted recruitment agency out there, but there's no ambition to be like the biggest and, list and all that sort of stuff.
It seems to me that no matter how big your business gets, I don't mean you, I mean generally speaking, people who run businesses, it's like no matter how big or how smooth or whatever it gets, like we're always chasing something, whether it's the next client or the next hire or the next innovative thing or whatever it is. It's almost like it's a pursuit or a quest that never ends, right?
Yeah.
But what does success look like for you? Like, where are you on that journey? Do you consider yourself successful?
It's a good question because it's the thing. It's like the aim of the game is to keep playing the game.
Yeah.
Right. So it's and money's infinite, right? And you see people caught in that cycle because even when you get to that number, you want more and more and more. There's never enough.
Yeah.
Right. It's funny because people will say to me like, oh, wow, like looks like you're doing really well, and like. It takes those moments to be like, for me to step back and be like, yeah, like I have found success, I guess. Like, there's not one measure for it, but like I would say, yeah, like there's different ways to measure it, but I'm still around. I made it through that first period where people don't make it through. So yeah, but I think in terms of how I define it, right? Like it would. For me in the business, it would just be about it actually being a business. Right now, I work in a job that I've created for myself and I do okay with that, but it's not a business because it's 100% reliant on me still. But I'm definitely like, if I do step backwards, I'm definitely proud, to look at it and go, hey, like I've made it to episode 10 of a podcast. People are listening. I've had some incredible guests on there, and yeah, we're still around, and the recruitment business is thriving, and we've got some incredible clients, and I've placed thousands of people over hundreds of different businesses. So it's pretty cool when you step back.
Sounds like a good note to finish on. Nathan, thank you for joining your own podcast.
And thank you for hosting me. Damn it, who put a question mark on the teleprompter?
Thanks for listening to The Leap. If you enjoyed this episode, give us a follow, or even better, share it with someone who you think will get value out of it. Big thanks to our main sponsor, Ethos 360 Recruitment. It was actually just us sponsoring ourselves.
This podcast has been produced by The Content Engine.
We got the remedy. College of Giants. Selling the shit we buying it.